I mean, last season, the Texans, they were once again a playoff team. They won the division record-wise and production-wise. It didn't feel like there was a drop-off, but it didn't feel like CJ Stroud was at that same level. And overall, this team just felt less dangerous, if that makes sense, just kind of
Yeah.
in competition in the AFC. What do you think kind of contributed to that slight drop-off from 24 compared to 23?
Yeah, and I mean, slight is you're being kind. Really, it was a significant drop off in terms of efficiency, in terms of being a real constant scoring threat. And then there were some ugly, ugly moments, like you remember the Detroit game where they couldn't run the
Yeah.
football, and there were other games like the playoff game where CJ sacked 8 times and hit 14 times overall. And if the pass protection had even just been average, not awful, then maybe they beat the Chiefs. The game was
Right.
not completely one sided. They were competitive with the Chiefs, or obviously not where they used to be. They're kind of a little bit declined. But I looked at everything that happened and I thought, wow, there's a problem with the play calling. There's a problem with the lack of adjustments. There's a personality conflict between the offensive line coaches. There's, I think, some misplaced finger pointing at Laramie Tunsil. I know they traded him, but I can say behind the scenes, Laramie was so well respected and liked. It was, he did have some penalty issues, but mostly
Right.
you just had poor performances by some of the draft picks from Nick Caserio, like Juice Scruggs, notably. And, Blake Fisher wasn't ready as a rookie to be a starter. I thought that Shaq Mason declined incredibly. He aged poorly that last year. He gave up over 10 sacks at right guard. That's unheard of, to have a guard give up over 10 sacks. You're playing right there, kind of like in a phone booth, and you're flanked by a center and a tackle, and they're attacking you that badly. And he's a really great lineman at one point, but yeah, he hit a wall. I thought the protection scheme didn't work. And, they fired Bobby Slowick. They fired Chris Strauss, the offensive line coach. They replaced him with an in-house guy, Cole Popovich, who used to work for the Patriots and worked with Nick
Right.
Cayley in New England. There's so many issues on offense. It's too many issues, and it's the really important ones. I don't know that CJ got worse. I think he got hit a lot. If you take away, some of those sacks and, he maybe has more time to make a play, there's not much any quarterback can do when they're on their back. I've covered the NFL for a long time. So I've covered a lot of the great Tom Brady years. I'm talking like the early 2000s.
Right.
And so sometimes he'd play Baltimore, and guys like Ray Lewis and Terrell Suggs, they would light him up. And any quarterback can be rendered ordinary when they're on their back. It's just, a fact of life in the NFL or any level of football.
Do you believe it
And
was the offensive line that contributed to Stroud's increase in turnovers and just
yeah,
overall was he just regression?
I don't know if he regressed in terms of accuracy or ability to throw. I think he became gun shy. I think that it was, a direct result of poor offensive line play and poor play calling. They never went in motion like pre-snap. Everybody knew the plays. It was, I mean, I just think we wouldn't be having the conversation about whether, obviously, there's a kind of a chicken and egg kind of thing here, but
Right.
you wouldn't people wouldn't think that CJ had played worse, in my opinion, having watched every snap and every practice and gone to every game and watched this and knowing, some inside information about the problems, the dynamic of the offensive room and the lack of confidence in Slowick and the votes of no confidence from the players. And eventually D'Amico Ryan's making a tough decision, having to fire his friend. I think you've got to look at the facts. They overhauled their offensive line. They changed receiver a little bit, but they overhauled their offensive line. They fire the offense coordinator. They fire the offensive line coach. So obviously the Texans, who know it better than I do, because it's their team, they're saying that's the reason. They're not pointing a finger at
Right.
CJ.